And there it is. Credits! Some info about Axelrod there. Okay, hold on. Relax. I ain't trying to fly just yet. But alright. Glory of Heracles. Conquered. Let's see. Where do I want to start with this game in terms of my overall thoughts? I will definitely say that this game has actually been kind of challenging for me to write down my thoughts for because it's a solid game. I like the game. It doesn't do anything that I particularly dislike. It doesn't do anything wrong. But for whatever reason, it just kind of comes across to me as I don't want to say unremarkable. So that's definitely not the description I want to give to it. But maybe the other side of how I can explain that is maybe it just doesn't stand out from the pack, which to me is kind of a crazy thing to say because this game does so many things that I feel are unique to this game that no other JRPGs necessarily do. There's things like how they do abilities and how you learn spells and the two rows that you can interact with. There's a variety of things that the game does that makes it stand out, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't stand out to me. And I don't know if I like that about my feelings on the game, because I feel like the game definitely deserves better from that. So it's a little sad that I kind of feel that way, because I think this game does a lot of cool stuff, and it certainly does stand out from the pack. But I don't know why I feel that way, you know? I don't know. So that in of itself has made it very difficult for me to write down my thoughts, because it's like, if I go into the story, you know, was it satisfying? You know, like, sure, I guess, you know, we got the answers to everything that we needed. But do I have any, like, extra feelings about the game? Does it invoke anything else from me? And it's not just it. I guess it's just not quite there. Something about it is holding it back. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Did it feel complete? I would say so. I don't think there's anything left outstanding. I will say, I don't think I've beaten this game before. I think the 18 hours that we saw was as far as I've gotten. So I might change this to semi-blind to accommodate for that. Because honestly, I don't know where I got the impression that I've beaten this game before, but I might make that change, which is gonna suck because this has a lot of stuff. Nice Super Mario Club on there. How was the pacing? I would say the pacing was pretty spot on. I don't think we got diverted too much. I think everything was fairly straightforward, and I don't have any problems with it. Thoughts on the story? I think the story went in a better direction towards the end. The game kind of does a lot of things that I'm not a fan of in terms of how it does its story. And that involves a lot of silent protagonists and amnesia, and there's a little bit of lack of a direction for the beginning of the game. But as things go on, we start learning more things, we start executing things. So it takes a typical JRPG approach to things. Wow, new game plus. My goodness, survival records. Yeah, for records. These are your survival records. Oh wow. So yeah, I think the second half of the story is certainly the most engaging part, because now we're not trying to figure out why we're immortal, which is just some nebulous quest that we may never find the answer to. But now we have this mission of we need to destroy the Crassus, and then no, the Crassus is actually just a small part of the plan. We need to destroy the Typhons and handle that. So it was kind of cool to get the actual story showing up. For the writing, interestingly enough, I was a fan of the writing. I liked the writing. There's some stuff I certainly would have not done. 73% collection rate. I bet you guys don't get that percentage on your A Link to the Past randomizers. 73%. That's the bomb diggity right there. But I like the characters. I like the interactions that they have. I like that they all feel relatively unique. I like that Heracles, who's actually Iphicles, but then turns into Heracles. I like that he just has his own personality. He laughs when he's feeling sad, and you know, he just laughs so much. There's so much personality to each character, and I like that, except for one particular character who we'll get to. For game mechanics and design, what gameplay elements stand out? It's super cool that your abilities, spells, and abilities come from equipment, but you can also get those types of things from shrines. I think they did a really cool job with how they present abilities to the player, because you can sacrifice stats for abilities that are super useful. Dispatch, great ability. Vigor, great ability, but you don't have to get vigor on an ability or on a piece of equipment. There's items that you can use, consumable items that you can use to get those. So there's this really cool dynamic of being able to take in abilities from a variety of different sources, you know, and like spells and things like that as well. So I really like that mechanic. And there's different shops, which are kind of cool, like the Alchemist, being able to bring out more abilities, more, I guess, latent abilities on the equipment that you have, I thought was really cool. I like that some pieces of equipment come rusted and you need to bring them back at a polisher so that they, you know, you get to figure out what they are useful for, if they're good or what have you. So I like that as well. There's probably some other stuff that I'm not thinking of, or didn't write down, but like I said, I didn't write down that much. For combat, the element system is very interesting and unique for casting spells. This was probably one of the most unique things in this game, and it's very, very different. Instead of having purely just a mana pool to pull from, you also have this element pool, and that determines if you can cast spells without taking damage or reflex damage. And it's kind of cool that you have to cast certain spells to get certain like elements built up, and that they carry on from battle to battle. It seems like they may reduce a little bit from battle to battle, but you know, I'm not necessarily a confirmation on that. But it's cool. It's a really cool system. The overkill mechanic in combat is also kind of cool. The ability to put more damage into an enemy and you permanently kill them, and you restore either a percentage or all of your mana back for doing that. So in some instances, you are going to waste your turn attacking something that's already dead. But in other instances, you can utilize that to your advantage and say, okay, this person's definitely going to die from this. Let me attack it so that I can get my mana back. Maybe cast a really big spell to make sure that I get the overkill and just get the mana back. It's neat. It's super neat. The empowering magic spells part of the combat is pretty cool. It's like a little mini game, I suppose. You know, a little mini game puzzle of sorts. And it's interesting. It's a different take. It does something new with the combat system, and I appreciate those things about this game. It tries something new, and I don't think it's to the detriment of the game. I actually think it makes the game stand out more, and it's not a bad thing at all. And then the combat log. I know Nakuri was mentioning what are we going back to, like 2002 or something like that, or even sooner than that. You know, back to the old school text games where all you do is read text and decide where you're gonna go. No visuals, no nothing. But I thought it was cool to have a combat log. I didn't necessarily use it to the potential that it could have had, and I think it doesn't necessarily have the use that it could have. It would have been nicer to be able to click on things and revisit, like the glossary of terms and whatnot. If I had forgotten what misery does or something like that, being able to click it in the combat log and have that prompt pop up would have been super helpful. For dungeons, wasn't really a fan of the dungeons. I don't think they were just, for the most part, linear corridors that didn't have much decoration in them. They, it was just like textures and walls. And if they did have decorations in them, they were usually like squares or something. The dungeons weren't all that great. But I will say that for the most part, the dungeons didn't overstay their welcome to the point where I was doing like 10, 15, 20 floors or something like that. They kept it relatively sane of, like 5, 6 floors or something like that. So I do appreciate that. For cardinal sins, removing a key party member without sufficient replacement. There were some duo fights with the player Heracles, who I guess is just Axelrod, and the party member Heracles, who was Iphicles at the time, but y'all know what that was all about. I see where they were going with this particular part, but I, just keep that stuff to like the beginning of the game, I suppose. If you want to input certain moments where you want certain characters to do specific challenges, then do that when those are the only 2 characters available in the game. But once you start getting other party members, I really hate when games just take out your party members and say, hey, now you have to do these challenges with these party members. Can you configure your equipment to get it right? It's annoying. And then the silent protagonist. One of the most cardinal of cardinal sins for me. I don't like silent protagonists. I don't think Axelrod added a single thing to this game. I don't think his inclusion in this game was necessary. I mean, he's a doll. He doesn't talk, and he just attacks things. He wasn't even all that amazing in combat, but I could have made him amazing if I didn't build him tank. But I like that I had him as a tank, as like one of those little backup options. For miscellaneous sound and music, I like several of the tracks. I would imagine there will be a level up this playlist episode for this game, and maybe if I build up some confidence in my beat making abilities, maybe I'll make some remixes of my own. Who knows? There's no voice acting, graphics. The graphics of this game are actually super fascinating to me because it's a 3D game with 3D models in it, and you can't really make out too much details about those models, but there's enough details. They could have made this a 2D sprite game, and it would have worked. But the fact that it's 3D just makes it that much more interesting for me. And I appreciated that a lot, and I enjoyed that aspect about it a lot. Especially because I don't think the animations were lacking either. They were showing like characterization and emotion with their their actions, I suppose. They would bring their hands to their face. They would put their arms on their waist. And a variety of other stuff. So I like that. Replay value. Does the game offer additional story content and a second playthrough to warrant playing the game again? Like Fire Emblem Three Houses, for example. Doesn't seem like it. I mean, there is a New Game Plus, but really, what's the New Game Plus going to do? It's just going to start us all over again. And we're not going to get any new story or anything like that. So, blah. Is the game worth recommending? This is an interesting question for it, isn't it? Even Mr. JRPG said in the chat, "Will Crayson like it?" I think this game. I think this game is fun. I think this game does things that are new to the genre and are not done like other games. But I'm not sure what makes this game stand out above the others in terms of like a grand scheme of things. And I guess what I mean by that is at the end of it all, do I feel that this game is better than a lot of the other mediocre games that I've played? Sure. But are there plenty of other games that are higher above the mediocre status that you could play and never have to touch this game? Absolutely. So is it worth recommending? It's probably in like the middle of the list. If you have 100 games on your list, you're probably going to put this one at 50 or so before you get around to recommending this one. And by the time this particular game will even pop up for a recommendation, you've probably played 50 other games, and you probably have 10 more that you want to play. So there's that. Would I play it again, whether immediately, near future, or distant future? Probably not. Probably not. This New Game Plus is certainly interesting to me, and I want to know what is in the New Game Plus. Oh, I can skip Doubtwood. Sure. New Game Plus mode, you can double the amount of money earned in combat. Cha-ching! Just be warned, once set, this setting cannot be changed. Right, what else is going on in New Game Plus mode? I'm only level 3, so I don't get to keep my equipment. I don't get to do any of that. So interesting. For other, I don't have anything for other. If the developer is watching, I think I've pretty much summed up where I sit with this game to the best of my ability. I'm still kind of lost in it, I suppose. Of like, I do feel that the game is better than I've indicated, but it's hard for me to explain why, I suppose. But if there was another Glory of Heracles game coming to the United States, I'd certainly keep my eye on it. You know, I'd look at it and say, you know, okay, do I want to try this game? You know, does this game look like it's going to be like the Glory of Heracles game that I played? And I would be interested in that. So we'll see. I think there's like 4 or 5 games in Japan. I don't know if they're anything like this one, but maybe. I don't know. Some stuff I missed in the chat. Not like Grandia, where there were all random stuff going around. Freaking Grandia. Or Golden Sun, as it had. Or it also had a lot more stuff in dungeons. Yeah. The dungeons were very bare bones, I think is the best way to put it. And because you spent a respectable amount of time in the dungeons, it would have just been nice to have more things to look at, more things to interact with. And I think that's another thing about this game is the interacting with other things is not really there. There's some objects that you can interact with, but for the most part, you're not going around pressing A on everything to see if you get like this hidden item or something like that. Which I guess has its pluses and minuses. Suikoden players are crying right now. Silent protagonist slander. Alright, so in my eyes, there's no such thing as a good silent protagonist. There have been a variety of iterations that have certainly caused me to think more about silent protagonists. But the problem with silent protagonists is they don't contribute. And if they don't contribute, why are they there? I don't know. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for my thoughts for today. Not seeing. Not that I'm looking very extensively here, but yeah, that'll wrap it up for me for today. Or at least my thoughts. So I'm just gonna mark this. I'm out. See you the next time I see you. Peace.